Hello? Yeah, I'm on. Can we do some testing? I'm in the office now. I'm on.
Elisa, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay. Chicks.
Can you see me? I've put on my video.
Yes, I can see, sir. I can see.
You can see me.
I can see. I can see.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, good. And you can hear me? You can hear me? Eh? Toby, unmute yourself now.
I can. Okay, I've done that, sir.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay, I noticed that DG is around. The DG is there, Abby?
Yes, he's here, sir.
Okay. Can we test the lapel mic?
Lapel mic, okay.
Put it on. You have not put it on. Switch it on. There. Switch on. Switch it on. Hello, Toby, unmute yourself now.
Unmute myself so I can use the lapel mic.
Put on the lapel mic and use it.
Okay, I'm using it now. Can you hear me clearly?
Okay, I can hear you, but they should reduce that speaker, that big box speaker. It's echoing.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do that now. So it's been reduced now.
Okay. I think the echo is gone now. Okay.
Okay. So I want to mute myself now. So
what did you say? I can't hear you. What are you saying?
okay. Elisa, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
How about like this? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
I think we have to slow down.
Test two, you should, yeah.
I'll just try. See how. Just say that.
Let's see. Two, test two. 1, 2.
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. If you can hear me, give me a 5 electronically. Give me an I5 if you can hear me. Mr. Toby, can you hear me? Are you watching YouTube? Because it's just showing that you are streaming to watch. Test it two. What you? 1, 2. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2. What you? You see, you can hear you need to talk back. You can be Test two. Mr. Anthony, if you can hear me, hit your line.
Apparently, President wants to share with me after the whatever. So I want to go buy red wine, please.
Hello, Mr. Joseph. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, sir. I can hear you now.
The noise I'm hearing is from Okay, can you talk, Mr. Joseph? Can you talk?
Okay, Mr. Chooks, can you hear me?
I can hear you. No, it's not very loud.
Okay, let me increase the volume. How about now? Is it louder?
Louder. Are there background noise? I think there are some background noises.
Mr. Tony, please mute your device. Okay, Mr. Tony is muted, so can you still hear the background noise?
Okay, the music.
You said, boy, your line is breaking. Mr. Chooks, if you can.
Will not hear what. They should not be doing this now. People can join now. Cannot be doing this at 10:30. Please tell them to stop. Oh no, people can join now. Eh? Mr. Victor, can you hear me? Mr. Gomez, can you hear me? Now at 10:30. When we are starting the meeting at 11. Like Mr. was now, what's very join? Why are you going with that one again?
Okay. So, look at what they have several resolutions. Now, the ordinary resolutions, so they have special amendments of articles. So each of those resolutions will be time where I think I should put that So, for example,
How do I drink the water? Good, yeah. Okay. You want to try first before me? Say what? No, I live in Lagos. I'm a Lagos man. I live in Lagos. I work in Abuja. So I go to work in the morning, close, then I come back to Abuja. Wonderful. Yes. But I've been locked down for a very long time. Okay. So you'll be here since wow. My president, why let it cut out of his bag? How are you, sir? Yes, at least you are alive. If you don't know the person properly, it's difficult to recognize it. I should just ask. Is he on now? Yes, I'm listening. If I drop it on the ground. Have the national anthem, please. distinguished members of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 11 o'clock, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the 36th Annual General Meeting of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria. The Secretary has informed me that a quorum has been formed, and I now declare the meeting open. Apologies, is there any announcement that's been made? Thank you. I would like to introduce to you the office bearers and the secretary to the Governing Council, starting from my extreme left, Dr. Jide Jidema, FIOD, the first Vice President of the Institute of Directors in Nigeria. To my extreme right is our Honorable Honorary Treasurer, Prince Enajemo, Austin Enajemo Esire, FIOD. To my immediate right is the DG, that is the Director General of our Institute and CEO, Mr. Dele Alimi, MIOD. And of course, my immediate left is the Secretary to the Governing Council of IOD. Please read the notice as circulated by.
Distinguished members of the Institute, good morning. I have before me my apologies. I have before me the notice of the 36th Annual General Meeting of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria. Notice is hereby given that the 36th Annual General Meeting of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria will hold on Thursday, 25th of June 2020 at 11 a.m. prompt at the RD Nigeria National Secretariat, 28 Cameroon Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, to transact the following business. Ordinary business. To receive the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2019, and the report of the President and the auditors thereon. 2, to appoint auditors. 3, to elect members of the Governing Council. Special business. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following as special resolutions. The Articles 12, 15 subsection 3, 16, 33, 34 of the Articles of Association of the Institute, they are hereby amended as follows. Article 12. An annual general meeting shall be held not more than 18 months after the incorporation of the Institute, and subsequently once in every year, at such time within a period of not more than 15 months after the holding of the last annual general meeting, and at such places as may be determined by the Council. All other general meetings shall be called extraordinary general meetings, provided that where due to unforeseen circumstances, the annual general meeting, extraordinary general meeting, or any other meeting of the Institute cannot be held physically, the Council shall approve that the meeting be conducted virtually or online, or by a combination of these types of meetings. In such circumstance, members who are unable to attend and vote in person shall be entitled to attend and vote by proxy. The notice calling such meeting shall state the reasons why such meeting is being held in such manner and guidelines under which the meeting shall be held, including the names of the proxy holders. Article 15.3. The notice shall be sent electronically to the email address or by ordinary post to the last known address of each member as recorded in the register of members maintained by the Secretariat. Article 16. No business shall be transacted at any general meeting unless a quorum is present when the meeting proceeds to business. 20 of the members of the Institute present At any general meeting shall be a quorum for all purposes. Article 33. At the first annual general meeting, all members of the council shall retire from office. At each subsequent annual general meeting, 1/3 of the elected members of the council, excluding the president, first vice president, and second vice president, referenced under Article 27, subsection 1, or if their number is a multiple of 3, the number nearest to 1/3 shall retire from office. A member of the council shall retain office until the close or the adjournment of the meeting. Without prejudice to the foregoing, the president, first vice president, and second vice president shall be subject to rotation for the duration of their tenure and shall be excluded in determining the order of retirement by rotation of other elected members of the council. Article 34. The members of council to retire every year shall include those who have been longest in office since their last election, but as between persons who became or were last re-elected members of the council on the same day, those to retire shall otherwise agreed among themselves be determined by lot. Notes. Proxy. To ensure the safety of members and participants of the Institute, and in compliance with the various guidelines issued by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, the Corporate Affairs Commission, and the Lagos State Government prohibition of gatherings of more than 25 people, attendance at the 36th Annual General Meeting of the Institute shall only be by proxy. In view of the foregoing, members entitled to attend and vote are encouraged to appoint a proxy of their choice from the list of the unlisted proxies to attend and in their stead. 1. Dr. Busona, FIOD. 2. Alhaji Shuaibu Idris, FIOD, MNI. 3. Ms. Eni Chibututu, FIOD. 4. Alhaji Sadal Aram Baki, FIOD. 5. Mr. Mustafa Jinadu, MIOD. 6. Mrs. Elizabeth Agu, MIOD. Proxy forms will be forwarded to all members of the Institute and also attached to the annual report. All instruments of proxy should be completed and sent to or deposited at the Director General's office, IOD Nigeria Secretariat, 28 Cameroon Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, or by email to 2020agm@iodnigeria.org on or before Friday, 19th of June, 2020. All relevant documents in connection with the meetings are available to all members from the date of the notice of the IOD Nigerian Secretariat at the address above. E-annual report. The electronic version of this annual report will be emailed to all members who have provided their email addresses to the IOD Secretariat. Members who wish to receive the e-annual report are kindly requested to ensure that our updated email address is sent to membership@iodnigeria.org. A copy of this notice and other information related to the meeting can be found at www.iodnigeria.org. Live streaming of the AGM. The AGM will be streamed live. This will enable members who will not be attending physically to follow the proceedings. The link for the AGM live streaming will be made available on www.iodnigeria.org and will be sent individually to all registered financial members. Dated the 2nd day of June 2020 by the order of the Governing Council, signed by the Secretary to the Council. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Wonderful. I now have the privilege of presenting my report to the 36th Annual General Meeting of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria. Report of the President and Chairman of the Governing Council at the 36th Annual General Meeting. Distinguished elders and past presidents, members of the Governing Council, members of the Executive Committee, distinguished fellows, and members of the associates of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 36th Annual General Meeting of our great institute, holding this 25th day of June 2020 in our Secretariat. It is a privilege for me to preside over this gathering for the first time since I assumed office as the 16th President of the Institute and Chairman of Council on the 27th day of June 2019. It is indeed a pity that we cannot hold this meeting in the usual manner because of the scourge of COVID-19 and of course the need to obey all government regulations designed to beat the virus. Ladies and gentlemen, my full report is contained in the 2019 annual report and financial statements, which have been circulated to all members of the Institute. I therefore seek your permission to present to you this abridged version of the report. Operational issues of the Institute during the period are contained in the report of the Director General, while the financial report for the year under review will be addressed by Honorary Treasurer. Global macroeconomic review. In 2019, global growth recorded its weakest pace since the global financial crisis a decade ago, reflecting on common influences across countries and country-specific factors. Rising trade barriers and associated uncertainty weighed on business sentiment and activities globally. In some cases, advanced economies like China, these developments magnify cyclical and structural slowdowns already underway. Further pressure came from country-specific weakness in large emerging markets, economies such as Brazil, India, Mexico, and Russia. Worsening macroeconomic stress related to tighter financial conditions experienced in Argentina, geopolitical tensions in Iran, and social unrest in Venezuela, Libya, Yemen, rounded out the difficult picture of year 2019. In Nigeria, and without significant structural policy reforms, the country's medium-term growth was projected to remain stable around 2%. Given that the economy was expected to grow more slowly than the population, living standards were expected to worsen. As a key regional player, which accounts for about half of West Africa's population, and with an abundance of natural resources, it has proved to be Africa's biggest oil exporter, with the largest natural gas reserves on the continent. Our national economic performance in 2019. 2019 was an election year which posed lots of financial, political, security, and policy instability challenges. As a result, growth in 2019 was constrained by a weak macroeconomic framework with a high persistent inflation, multiple exchange rate windows, forex restrictions, and a lack of revenue-driven fiscal consolidation results. The rising public debt and increasingly complex policy interventions by the central bank constrained private sector credit growth. Interestingly, the economy gathered some momentum in the final stretch of 2019 on the heels of accelerated growth in the third quarter amid quickening activity in the non-oil economy. Bank lending to both households and businesses picked up markedly in October to November, boding well for consumption. Moreover, the PMI edged higher in quarter 4 from quarter 3 on sustained new business and employment growth. Coupled with firms growing more confident about overall economic conditions, reaching the highest level of 2019 in December, and over their own operations in the quarter, particularly the key industrial and services sectors, indicating improved private sector dynamics at the closing of 2019. The challenges of governance. Good corporate governance ethical behavior and integrity remains in the forefront of discourse in the corporate world. At both continental and global levels, the fight against unethical practices and poor governance received greater impetus. Nigeria was not left out of these renewed efforts to entrench best practice in the management and directorship of companies and institutions. It is worthy of note that the 2018 Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance came into practice in January 2019. The code, which had the buy-in of many public sector regulatory agencies, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the Corporate Affairs Commission, and Securities and Exchange Commission, among many others, and also incorporated and accepted the various sectoral codes of governance aimed at sanitizing the operations of organizations. Coronavirus outbreak and its impact. Coronavirus, commonly known as COVID-19, emerged in December 2019 and has quickly become a global pandemic that threatens the health of individuals and the welfare of societies on a vast scale, including its impact on global economic activity and growth. Today, the COVID-19 crisis is well documented in the media and continues to propagate in many countries around the world, including Nigeria. Institute of Directors Nigeria commends the bold steps taken by the federal and state governments to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria, especially by responding quickly to the country's first known case and employing extensive efforts to trace other suspected cases of people who may have come in contact with the index case. It's also worthy of note that the government has taken extensive documentation and health checks for passengers entering the country before eventually placing a ban on international travels and incoming flights on March the 20th, 2020. IOD Nigeria. IOD Nigeria has continued to be relevant as it plays in prominent and leading roles in the Nigerian business community. We owe our past leaders a debt of gratitude, and this is best appreciated by consolidating their achievements and sustaining their legacies by creating an enduring institutional structure that conforms to best global standards. Today, arising from the hard and honest work of these forebears, IOD is recognized as a model and premier professional organization and the strongest advocate for the enthronement of best corporate governance practice in the private and public sectors of our country. The leadership change in 2019. In accordance with the mandate of our Constitution, the 2019 Governing Council election was held preceding the 2019 AGM, which elected or re-elected 6 members to fill the 6 vacant positions. The elected members were 1, Mr. Aki Roko, FIOD, who was re-elected; 2, Alhaji Umaru Karanga, FIOD, who was also re-elected; 3, Alhaji Sule Bichi, FIOD, was elected; 4, Mr. Sule Bates, FIOD, was elected; Mrs. Amina Oyagbola, FIOD, she was elected; and 6, Mr. Shola Ephraim Uluwanuga, FIOD, was also elected. The election of office holders was held at the Governing Council meeting immediately after the AGM on the 25th of June 2019, where the following officers were elected. 1, Chief Chris O. Okunowo, FIOD, as President and Chairman of Council; Dr. Mrs. E.J. Jidema, FIOD, as the first Vice President; Alhaji Tijani Borodo, FIOD, second Vice President; Prince Austin Enajemo Isire, FIOD, Honorary Treasurer; and Mrs. Fumi Roberts, MIOD, as honorary legal advisor. Our membership growth and branch development. In the year 2019, a total of 423 new members were inducted into the Institute, bringing the total membership of the Institute as December 2019 to 5,074 members. Unfortunately, though, only about 2,000 members are financially active. Research and advocacy. IOD Nigeria has continued to engage in research and advocacy with relevant partners and the government. The Institute has continued to present and publish policy position papers in the national dailies and issue press releases on matters bordering on corporate governance, public policy advocacy, and leadership, amongst others. We have also consistently published the Director magazine on a quarterly basis and ensure that directors and public are constantly informed and updated on business, research, and policy developments via our IOD e-newsletter publications. In 2019, various policy committees of the Institute contributed meaningfully to business discourse within their sectors. Young Directors Forum. It is common knowledge that small and medium enterprises, SMEs, bedrock of most developing economies, and Nigeria is no exception. The young owners of these SMEs often call and regard themselves as directors of their enterprises. A lot of such organizations go into liquidation within a very short period of startup, not because of lack of skills, but largely due to lack of required knowledge of basic governance issues. To provide these budding entrepreneurs with governance skills, the Institute has recently inaugurated a committee to invigorate the already approved Young Directors Forum with a view to providing necessary mentoring opportunities for these young directors, teach and train them about how to govern their businesses. The YDF is also intended for the young directors to grow extensive network among and share experiences essential of their enterprises. Chartership of the Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be aware that we were just one step away from the chartership of the Institute in the second quarter of 2019. However, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces withheld assent to the bill because of a complaint by the Corporate Affairs Commission on some sections of the IOD bill. We, however, remain undaunted in the quest for chartership. As a result, we have engaged with the various stakeholders, including the Corporate Affairs Commission, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Federal Ministry of Justice, and indeed the National Assembly. And we are doing all within our powers to ensure that we scale the final hurdle for assent by the President before the end of 2020. IOD House development. In order to actualize the objectives of a befitting headquarters for our institute, the Governing Council of the Institute and I paid a courtesy visit to the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, MIOD, on November the 5th, 2019, to solicit the support and approval of the Governor for the building plans of the IOD head office, located at number 8 Temple. I am happy to inform all members that all our prayers to the Governor received his approval, and a major hurdle has now been scaled in our quest for a befitting IOD house. I wish to particularly appreciate the IOD House and Infrastructure Committee under the leadership of the late Sir Remy Omotosho, MFR, KJW, DFIOD, and the Governing Council of the Institute for the collaborative work done to ensure that we achieved this milestone in the project execution. May God grant all our departed souls eternal rest. Our system automation of the IOD Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the cardinal points of this administration is to deploy technology to drive the operations of the institute. To this end, immediately after I took over the leadership of our great institute a year ago, we mandated the Institute's Committee on IT and Secretariat to engage with key service providers in the industry to conduct our need analysis in this respect and explore the best and integrated ICT solution for most of our operations. The engagement process is ongoing, and we are making you may recall the leading professional for directors in Nigeria. Commitment to high ethical standards drives our role in promoting corporate governance and good business ethics. In line with our vision to sustain this, and following the earlier approval by the Council and the subsequent inauguration of an ethics committee on the 20th of 2018 by my predecessor, the committee had worked tirelessly to make available a revised code of ethics for the Institute. It was eventually approved by the Governing Council in November of 2019. The committee had now been mandated by the Council to ensure the national launch of the code. We will seek the partnership and collaboration of key stakeholders in the corporate governance space and major regulatory bodies in order to make this code generally to all stakeholders. The Council and ESCO Strategic Retreat. The third edition of the Strategic Retreat was held from Friday, 27 February to 1st of March 2020 in Lagos State. The theme of the retreat was IOD Nigeria, Repositioning for Continued Relevance. The keynote speaker and facilitator at the event was Dr. Adedoyin Salami, MIOD, and the chairman of the Economic Advisory Council of the federal government, while the guest speaker was Dr. Andrew Niven, advisory partner and chief economist at PwC Nigeria. The retreat was a continuation that started in 2016 and focused on the Institute for continued relevance, given the challenges of the dynamic business environment, while reviewing of the fourth resolution of the 2016 retreat. Outlook for IOD Nigeria. It has been 1 year since my assumption of as president and chairman of the Governing Council. And as I start into the second year of our administration, I enjoin all to be more optimistic about our invigorated role in upscaling the standards of our current level of performance as the bastion and voice of ethics and corporate governance in the public and private sector. Models and practices needed to restore and consolidate macroeconomic stability. We must become even more active than ever, promoting relevance and constructive debate on important and relevant business issues today and in the future. Our vision for meeting and surpassing the needs and expectations of our members and our stakeholders guides the renewed focus, power, and strengthen the capacity of the Secretariat to ensure that it is able to deliver on these matters. My conclusion, therefore, distinguished members, friends, and colleagues, I would like to conclude by expressing my heartfelt thanks to all members of the Governing Council, the Presidency, the Executive Committee, management, and staff of the Secretariat for your enduring commitment, hard work, and dedication in the pursuit of the Institute. Without you, it would have been impossible to achieve all that we have mentioned above. As we look forward to another successful year and the last lap of my 2-year tenure as President and Chairman of our great institute, I wholeheartedly trust that you will continue to be a pillar of support and a faithful helper. Finally, I welcome you once again to the 36th Annual General Meeting of this institute and wish you all fruitful deliberations. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, are aware members have passed on to the great beyond. That we should in their memory and names. That is, members who died in the last 1 year are Alhaji Amos Agbadamosi Otiti, past president of this institute. Mr. Olu M.I. Mr. Carol S. Kuri, MIUD, Mr. Gani O. Alison, MIUD. And of course, distinguished member, the FIOD, Sir Remy Omotosho. Please just maintain 1 minute silence in memory. May the soul of party members continue to fight intact. Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The first item on the agenda is the resolution on the presentation of the audited financial statements for the period ended December 2019. I now invite Honorable Prince Austin Enajemo Isire, the FIOD, to present the Honorable Treasurer's report and the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019.
Fine. The President and Chairman of Council, the first Vice President, distinguished esteemed members, permit me to stand on already established protocol. The 36th Annual General meeting of our institute is what we're already witnessing. And it is my pleasure to present the financial reports and accounts for the year ended 31st December 2019. That you will find on page 37. My report is found on page 37 of the annual reports and accounts. The financial statements set out on pages 50 to 75. That's where you find the financial statement. They were all considered and recommended by the Council at its meeting of May 7, 2020. The highlights of the financial statements is as presented in the report before you. The statement of financial position is contained in page 50 of your accounts, otherwise known as the balance sheet. In that place, you have the total assets of the institute. It grew by 9% during the period of 2019. As of 2018, the total assets stood at 2.05 billion, with an increase of 191.4 million, thereby closing at 2.242 billion in 2019. The total liabilities of the institute also grew by 40% from 35.5 million in 2018 to 40.74 million in 2019. The total funds of the institute grew by 9% from 2.01 billion to 2.201 billion. The income from operations contained in page 51 of the annual account you have referred to the statement of income and expenditure. The income grew by 48%, with an absolute growth rate of 67.74 million naira, moving from 142.55 million to 210.297 million in the outgone year. Other income also recorded a negative growth of 4%, declining from 230.5 million to 221.1 million. The total income at the end of the day sum up to a growth of 58.38 million, representing 60% growth. The personnel cost marginally declined by 1%, and that's recorded from 123.18 million in 2018 to 121.616 million. That you will find the details are contained in page 70 of this annual record account. Also, the administrative cost went up by 30%, moving from 254.5 million in 2018 to 287.374 in 2019. At the bottom line, which is the clause of the matter, recorded a 29% growth for the financial year ended 31st December 2019, increasing from 92.45 million to 119.393, with an absolute growth of 26.936 million. The capital expenditure as provided in the outgone budget recorded an actual performance of a negative here. By the time I talk about the details a bit, you will understand why it's declined from 1.1 billion to 38.7 million only. Like I have mentioned, the statement of financial position is contained in page 50. The statement of income and expenditure is contained in page 51. And before I move ahead, the accounting policies of your account, of this account, are contained on page 54 to 62. Accounting policies. Then the notes to the account that provide additional information for better cooperation and understanding are contained in page 63 to 75 of the annual account. Having said that, the Institute comments on the operating results and major statement of financial position items. The Institute recorded a surplus, as I have mentioned, 190.3 million compared to 92.4 in 2018. The performance represents an overall increase of 29% from the 2018 result. This is as a result of improved contribution from membership income drive. You will see that in it there, membership subscription income majorly accounted for the positive variance. The subscription received for 2019 exceeded that of 2018 by 48%, recording a decline of 5% in operational expenditure. So that accounted for why you have that growth in our surplus. B, the net income from company director costs is also another major factor that accounted for the growth. It also increased by 48%, taking the surplus recorded in that revenue center from 39.4 million to 58.42 million. Providing a further explanation on total assets as at 1st December 2019, a 9% increase was recorded here, and that moved to the figure from 2.051 to 2.9 as I've earlier mentioned. And the reason for the movement was in the financial assets at amortized cost and cash and carry equivalent. What that means is that the investment in financial assets at amortized cost are referring to investment in treasury bills, which costs across 91 to 365 days, while the cash and cash equivalent are mainly talking about your bank balances, your cash in hand, and short-term fixed deposits. So there were some rearrangements in the wisdom and in line with accounting policies of the Institute. So that presents the... Then during the year, the property, plant, and equipment rose to 1.2 billion from marginally from 1,235,571 to 1,235,300, a marginal movement because of new assets acquired during the year. The current assets also increased by 23% from 815.97 million to 1,000,000,007 as at that date, because of additional funds placed in fixed deposit, as I've explained. Financial assets at amortized cost decreased by 30%. That was as a result of the reclassification. Some were moved to short-term deposit. Hence, the cash and cash equivalent ended the year with a balance of 474.865 million from a figure of 70 million as recorded in 2018. The current liability were 40.74 compared to 2018 position of 35 million. And the institute current ratio for 2019 is 23:1. That means that the institute is very, very stable and ready at any time the obligation is knocking at our door. The capital expenditure, like I mentioned here, decreased by 1.1 billion in 2019 compared to the 2018 figure. This was as a result of the acquisition cost of Temple Road property transaction concluded and included in the records of the Institute fees assets. That's what accounted for that movement. The Institute continued to prepare its account on a great concern basis in perpetuity and in line with IFRS standards. The notes to the account, as I've mentioned in the various pages, which you can read there, they all form parts of this account and gives you more explanation for better understanding. Therefore, in line with the foregoing and the council membership responsibility, which you will find on page 44, council's membership responsibility, the financial statement and reports of the institute represent a true and fair financial position and activities for the year ended 31st December 2019. Let me state this here, that the treasurer report for the first time have been crafted to be part of the annual account, which has not been happening. And I believe that in keeping with some best practices, it should come. I need to appreciate the chairman of council for giving this approval. Finally, I wish to thank you all for the opportunity given to me to serve our esteemed institute and the honorary treasurer before I retire from that position. I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Honorary Treasurer. I now invite the chairman of the Audit and Risk Committee, Mrs. Fumi Oyetunji, FIOD, to present the report of the Audit and Risk Committee on the 2019 audited account.
President, Chairman of Council, Chief Law, the President, Chairman of Council, Vice President, Chief, I crave your indulgence to stand on the same page protocol as I read the Audit Committee as a whole, which you can find on page 40 of the booklet. You will also find the names of other members of the committee on the same page. So I read, we, the Audit Committee members of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria, in accordance with the statutory requirements of Section 359, subsection 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria, have carried out the following statutory. 1. We confirmed that the accounting and reporting policies of the Institute are in accordance with legal requirements and agreed practice. 2. We reviewed the scope and plan for the audit for the year ended 31st December 2019. 3. We reviewed the external auditor's recommendation on accounting procedures and management responses thereon. In our opinion, the scope and planning of the audit for the year ended 31st December 2019 were adequate, and the management responses to the auditor's findings were satisfactory. Thank you. Signed, my name is Fumi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fumi Tunji, Chairman of the Audit Committee. I now invite the external auditors, Mr. SIAO, Professional Services, to read the auditor's report, which has been circulated together with the account for the year 31st, for the year ending 31st December 2018.
Mr. President, the President and Chairman of Council, First Vice President, Council members, distinguished members, ladies and gentlemen. My pleasure to present the independent auditor's report to members of Institute of Directors on page 45 to 48 of 2019 annual report and financial statement. Distinguished members, please permit me to present our opinion and conclusion so that we can save some quality time. Opinion. We have audited the accompanying financial statement of Institute of Directors, Nigeria, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31st December 2019, and the statement of income and expenditure, statement of changes in members' funds, and statement of cash flows for the year and ended, which have been prepared on the basis of the summary of the significant accounting policies from pages 4 to 62 and other explanatory notes to the financial statement set out on pages 63 to 73. In our opinion, the Institute has kept proper accounting records and financial statements are in agreement with records in all material respects and give in the prescribed manner information required by the Companies and Allied Matters Act, C-20, Law of Regulation of Nigeria, 2004, International Financial Reporting Standard, IFRS, and in compliance with Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act No. 6, 2011. Financial statement give a true and fair view of the financial position of the Institute of Directors Nigeria as at 31st December 2019, and of its financial performance and cash flows for the year that ended in accordance with Companies and Allied Matters Act, C-20, Law of Regulation of Nigeria, 2004, International Financial Reporting Standard, IFRS, as applicable and in manner required by the Financial Act No. 6, 2011, on page 48. Report on other and regulatory requirements. In accordance with Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011 and the Companies and Allied Matters Act, C-20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. 1. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of the audit. 2. The Institute has kept proper books of account so far as appeared from our examination of those books. The Institute statement of financial position and the statement of income and expenditure are in agreement with the books of account and returns. Signed by SIO, signed by Abiodun Arebi on behalf of SIO Chartered Accountant, Lagos, Nigeria, dated 7th May 2020. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Abiodun Arebi. I now invite members to make comments on the audited account and financial statements. I guess we can take just about 3 or 4 questions so that we can really move forward. Yes, please.
Mine is not a question, it's a comment.
Thank you.
Mr. President of the Council, permit me to stand on the existing protocol for this meeting. I am referring to the Treasurer's report, page 38, which has disclosed that members' subscription income majorly accounted for the positive variance recorded in 2019.
And I want to commend the management, for this feat, because it is actually IOD has had a problem of getting members to subscribe to pay their financial dues annually. So for us to have a surplus this year, it means that we did something that. I congratulate you, and I set you a target for next year to double that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, all protocols duly observed. Mine is just a rider, what our able madam has just said. I've observed that you left out some significant achievement or directions that you have put as follow. One, there is a new directive on the need to change our revenue base or an understood, which to the inauguration of all the committees who were charged to come up with the committee ideas, so that we do not rely solely on all these members' subscription or membership fees. I do recall that the President gave a clear directive, and it's not reflected. I think it should be adjusted to show, because this is going to be a significant departure. And I will not be surprised, madam, if the bonus or the surplus, I mean the surplus that the Honorable Treasurer recorded has not been as a result of that change of thinking. I think we should recognize it, because this was something we started since last year, and it is still going on. And I call on all our members that we should emphasize on it, and we should come with ideas to generate more revenue.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Chicago.
President and Chairman, all other protocols to be observed. I think it will not be out of place for the to say this and indeed the leadership of the institute as far as the management is concerned, and Mr. Bele Ali. My elder sister, the legal luminary, even though she's a lawyer, she picked it up quickly and came into our domain of accounting to note, the performance. To have renewal of membership, not new members. Renewal of membership to increase from 86.5 million to 149 million. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind, I think this gentleman deserves a standing ovation. I think it deserves, because I have been and I know what I'm talking about. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Secondly, my dear members, our institute recorded a marginal decline in personnel cost during the same year that we had increase in operating income. My elder brother in the profession and the honorary treasurer and all other senior professional colleagues in accounting will agree with me that, the relationship between income and expenditure is, you see expenditure rise, income rise, but here we are seeing even expenditure coming down and income increasing. I think it's also a good development to note. Other comment I would like to make is as regards to the management of our funds. I noticed a significant increase in income from our investment from 95 million to about 98 million during the year under review. I think it's also a commendation as to the efforts being put by the treasurer, the honorary treasurer, and the head of finance. Finally, let me end my comment with a question. There is an item under operating income that is tagged provision for recovery. This is sounding a bit Greek and archaic for me. I will require a bit of an explanation. Item of given out this our size is an amount that is material, 4.2 million naira. Either the head of finance or the honorary treasurer or the DG may want to shed some light so that we can be educated. You know, in the profession, every day you are in the school. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. President and Chairman of Council, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the various comments as it affects the accounts and all of the accolades is duly appreciated. I want to call on the DG to respond to the provision recovery of 4.2 million. Thank you.
Mr. President and Chairman of Council, distinguished members of the Institute. The item provision for recovery refers to some of the promissory notes we have from sponsors for our programs and events that were held in 2019. We are still pursuing for redemption as at the end of 2019 as found in the books by the auditors. And I'm glad to say that a substantial part of this sum as at today been recovered. So it refers to what were being wrote by some of our sponsors in 2019, which are coming now. Thank you very much.
We will check this in Martin. Don't be thinking yourself. You see, sometimes when you have bad recovery, because
ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that Ladishabu Idris is now quite satisfied with the explanation given. He may not necessarily like the definition or the nomenclature of that provision. Nonetheless, we're work in progress, so we'll keep that. Thank you very much. I was just going to ask, is there anybody online who would like to make some comments? You know, probably we can take one from our line members or members of the Institute. Please check the chat, but there may be questions for the DG or for the Honorary Treasurer, or indeed for myself. Is there anybody online that would like to ask? Well, perhaps just wave your hand to say that you're there and there are no questions, you're satisfied with everything. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think the Will the member please propose the resolution for the adoption of the auditor's report? Sure, please.
My name is Shuaibu Idris, FIOD-MNI. I so propose that we adopt the presentation of the accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Shuaibu Idris, MNI, FIOD. Will the member please second the resolution? Thank you.
I second.
Does anyone have any questions to ask concerning this resolution on the accounts of the institute? Outstanding. As there are no further questions or comments, I would now put the resolution of the meeting. Those in favor, indicate by raising their right hand, please. Those against the resolution, please indicate likewise. I declare the resolution carried unanimously. Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of auditors of the Institute. In accordance with Section 357, Subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act and Article 53 of the Memorandum and Articles of Association of the Institute, which states that at each annual general meeting, an auditor or auditors shall be appointed to audit the financial statements of the Institute and to hold office until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. The auditors, SIAO, have indicated a willingness to continue to serve. The resolution which I shall now ask the members formally proposed is as follows: that the appointment of SIAO Professional Services as auditors of the Institute of Directors Nigeria be and is hereby approved, and that the auditors shall hold office until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. Will the member please propose the resolution? Ms. Elizabeth Abu.
Hi, Mrs. Elizabeth Oyibo Agbo. Hereby propose the appointment of Mrs. SIAO Professional Services as auditors of the Institute of Directors Nigeria, and it is hereby approved that the auditor should hold office
until the
conclusion of the next annual general meeting. Thank you.
Will another member please second the resolution?
I so second.
Thank you, Dr. Musonaya. Does anyone have questions concerning this resolution? Anything online? As there are no further questions or comments, I will now put the resolution to the meeting. What? Yes. Yes, Mr. Yomi Jones, please go ahead with the question or comment. Mr. Yomi Jones, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. President. I wanted to.
Please go ahead.
Mr. President, I just wanted to second the SIAO. That's all. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope you are in stronger lockdown.
Mahaburo, I hear you. I hear you.
Now put the question resolution to the meeting. Will those in favor indicate by raising their right hand? Those against, please do the same. I declare the resolution carried unanimously. The next item of the agenda for the annual general meeting to approve the amendment of Article 12, 15, subsection 3, Article 16, Article 33, and Article 34 of the Articles of Association of the IOD Nigeria. The resolution for which I shall now ask the member to formally propose is as follows: that Articles 12, 15, subsection 3, 16, 33, and 34 of the Articles of Association of the Institute be and are hereby amended as follows. Article 12, and I quote, an annual general meeting shall be held not more than 18 months after the incorporation of the Institute, and subsequently, once in every year, at such time, within a period of not more than 15 months after the holding of the last annual general meeting, and at such places as may be determined by the Council. All other general meetings shall be called extraordinary general meetings, provided that where due to unforeseen circumstances, the annual general meeting, extraordinary general meeting, or any other meeting of the Institute cannot be held physically, the Council shall approve that the meeting be conducted virtually or online, or by combination of these types of meetings. In such circumstance, members who are unable to attend and vote in person shall be entitled to attend and vote by proxy. The notice holding such meeting shall state the reasons why such meeting is being held in such manner, and guidelines under which such meeting shall be held, including the names of the proxy holders. 2. Article 15, subsection 3. The notice shall be sent electronically to the email address or by ordinary post to the last known address of each member as recorded in the register of members maintained by the Secretariat. As it has to be maintained by the Secretariat. Article 16. No business shall be transacted at any general meeting unless the quorum is present when the meeting proceeds to business. 20 of the members of the Institute present at any general meeting shall be a quorum for all purposes. Article 33, and I quote again, at the first annual general meeting, all members of the Council shall retire from office. Each subsequent annual general meeting, 1/3 of the elected members of the Council, excluding the President, first Vice President, and second Vice President, referenced under Article 27, subsection 1, or if their number is not a multiple of 3, the number nearest to 1/3 shall retire from office. A member of the Council retiring shall retain office until the close of the adjournment of the meeting, without prejudice to the foregoing. The President, first Vice President, and second Vice President shall not be subject to rotation for the duration of their tenure, and shall be excluded in determining the order of retirement by rotation of other elected members of the Council. Unquote. Article 34. I quote again, the members of Council to retire every year shall include those who have been longest in office since their last election, but as between persons who became or were asked to be elected members of the Council on the same day, those who retire shall, unless otherwise agreed among themselves, be determined by law. Unquote. Will a member please propose that all the resolutions be heard together?
Mr. President, I so proposed. My name is Dr. Shona.
Will another member please second the resolution?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mr. Rajimoto. I hereby second the motion.
Will the member please propose this resolution? Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Does anyone have any questions to ask concerning these resolutions? Anybody online who would like to make a comment? Thank you. Please, if you'd like to just raise your hands or. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As there are no further questions or comments, I will now put this resolution to the meeting. Will those in favor indicate by raising their right hand, please? Those against this resolution, please indicate likewise by raising their right hand, please. I declare this resolution carried unanimously. I will now proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of members of the Governing Council. Pursuant to Article 27, 33, and 34 of the Institute Memorandum and Articles of Association, the following members of the Governing Council will be hired by rotation. Alhaji Isa Ahmed, FIOD, elected in 2018. 2. Mr. Adetuji Oyebanji, FIOD, elected 2018. Dr. Dimitri Newman, FIOD, elected in 2018. Mr. Adeyinka Asad, FIOD, elected in 2018. And Mrs. Irene Uba, FIOD, elected in 2018. The following members are seeking re-election and election into the Council of the Institute. 1. Mr. Adetuji Wale, FIOD. Alhaji Ahmed Isa, FIOD. Mr. Alonga Victor, FIOD. Mrs. Nwado Chukura, FIOD. Alhaji Diko Lamix, FIOD. Prince Olashore Abibola, FIOD. Mr. Oyebanji Adetuji, FIOD. Mrs. Oludewa, Mrs. Top Oludewa, FIOD. And Mrs. Uba Irene, FIOD. I will now invite the chairman of the 7-man committee of scrutineers, Chief Chikewadi, DFIOD, to announce the results of the 2020 Governing Council elections. on there. Could somebody call him, please? Could somebody call him? Was there a minister? Eh? Oh, okay. That's Lara.
This trying is trying.
I was just going to ask, is the vice chairman of that committee available? Alaji Bichi, yes. Good. Yes, we are able to reach out to the chairman of your committee.
Yes,
Martin, do you have any documents of that? Do you have the results of the election with you?
Yes, I have the report.
You have the report?
Yes.
Could you oblige us with the report, please? Thank you.
So, with the permission of the President, I can make the presentation of the report.
Please go ahead.
Report of the Committee of Scrutineers on the 2020 Governing Council election to the 36th Annual General Meeting held on Thursday, the 25th of June, 2020. I read on behalf of the President, of the Chairman of the Committee. Mr. President, Chairman of the Council, Past President, members of the Governing Council, distinguished members of the Institute, gentlemen of the place, ladies and gentlemen. The following is a report of the Committee of Scrutineers who supervised the 2020 Governing Council election. The committee made up of the following members. Number one is Mr. Chike Nwanzi, past president, DFIOD, who is the chairman of the Scrutineers Committee. Other members are Alaji Tijani Borodo, FIOD, Alaji Sule Bichi, FIOD, Mustaki Iroko, FIOD, Mrs. Ebisa Onyema, MIOD, Mrs. Onene Obele Oshoko, MIOD, Mrs. Kemi Adewale, MIOD. For the purpose of the 2020 Governing Council election, the committee held 2 meetings. In the first meeting of 8th June 2020, the committee reviewed and adopted the guidelines for the 2020 Governing Council election as approved by the Governing Council. B, reviewed all the nomination documents for all contestants to check for conformity with election guidelines. C, reviewed the new electronic voting system for election and found it to be effective and suitable. D, approved the deployment of 3 platforms for voting during the 2020 Governing Council election. And these were the physical ballot, which is applicable only to Lagos Secretariat. Then there is a fillable e-ballot paper to be submitted via email. And then C, the online voting via election runner platform. C, approve the nomination of 9 contestants who had been nominated for election. The 9 candidates were 1, Mr. Adepiton Wale; 2, Mr. Ahmed Isa, FIOD; Mr. Alonge Victor, FIOD; Mrs. Chukura Nwando, FIOD; Mr. Diko Lamis, FIOD; Mr. Olashore Abimbola, FIOD; Mr. Oyebanji Adetunji, FIOD. Number 8 is Mrs. Sop Oludewa. 9 is Mrs. Uba Irene. With this decision, the committee approved in accordance with the election guidelines approved by the council that the election be held from Tuesday 9th June to Friday 19th June 2020. The second meeting of the committee was held on Monday 22nd June 2020 to essentially count the votes and review the conduct of the election. The committee therefore scrutinized all the material utilized for the election, checked the eligibility of all voters all that voted during the election, review the result from online voting platform, open the ballot boxes, download e-ballot papers, review the list of eligible voters, check to ensure that there were no multiple voting. All these were done to ensure that the conduct of the election was free, fair, devoid of any irregularity. Breakdown of the votes. We have the sources of the votes. Online voters, we had a total of 264 voted via the online, and all of them were valid. Number of voters via email, there were 30 of them, out of which 9 were invalid. The valid votes were 21. Number of votes via physical ballot, there were 10, and all of them were valid. So the total number of votes, voters is 304. The total number of valid votes were 295, and invalid were 9 candidates. As stated earlier, 9 candidates contested for the 5 vacant positions. The candidates are as follows. Number 1, Mr. Adepiton Wale, FIOD. Number 2, Mr. Ahmed Isa, FIOD. Number 3, Mr. Alonge Victor, FIOD. Number 4, Mrs. Chukura Nwando, FIOD. Number 5 is Mr. Diko Lamis, FIOD. Number 6 is Mr. Olashore Abimbola, FIOD. Number 7 is Mr. Oyebanji Adetunji, FIOD. Number 8 is Mrs. Stop Oludewa, FIOD. Number 9 is Mrs. Uba Irene, FIOD. Disqualification of candidates. The committee received reports that one of the contestants, Mrs. Oludewa Thor, FIOD, contravened the election guideline by openly soliciting votes from members through a widely circulated email to members of the institute. The committee reviewed the matter and confirmed that she actually sent email to members requesting for their votes, which is contrary to the approved guidelines for the election. The committee therefore had no choice but to disqualify Mrs. Oludewa Thorpe and cancel her votes. Now, the election result. In the 2020 Governing Council election result summary. This is the result according to the result. Number one is Mr. Oyebanji Adetunji, FIOD, who scored 168 votes, being number one. Number two is Olashore Abimbola, FIOD, who scored 159 votes. That's the second. Number three is Uba Irene, FIOD, who scored 147 votes. That is the third position. The fourth position went to Mrs. Chukura Nwando, FIOD, who scored 144 votes. The fifth position goes to Mr. Diko Lamis, FIOD, who scored 142 votes. That's number 5. Number 6 is occupied by Mrs. Thorpe Oludewa, FIOD. That vote was cancelled. She was number 6. Number 7 position goes to Mr. Alonge Victor, FIOD, who scored 126 votes. Number 8 position went to Mr. Ahmed Issa, FIOD, who scored 108 votes. The 9th position went to Mr. Adepiton Wale, FIOD, who scored 94 votes. The first 5 contestants have therefore been elected into the governing council. They are, number 1, Mr. Oyebanji Adetunji, FIOD. Number 2, Mr. Olashore Abimbola, FIOD. Number 3, Mrs. Uba Irene, FIOD. Number 4, Mrs. Chukura Nwando, FIOD. Number 5, Mr. Diko Lamis, FIOD. Observations / recommendations from the committee. The election and voting process this year greatly improved with the introduction of electronic voting system, which was seamless, both in the voting process and in the collation of election results. And this is reflected in the increased number of voters. In order to improve the election process from the nomination stage to the voting process, the committee recommends the following nomination procedure guidelines. The committee recommends a review of the election guidelines to reflect the following. 1, that members should not nominate or endorse more than one candidate. Number 2, that members nominating candidates should be different from members that will endorse such nominations. A member should not be allowed to nominate and endorse at the same time. Number 3, all members of the institute should be allowed to nominate and endorse candidates irrespective of whether they are serving or have served any committees of the institute. voting system. That's number 4 recommendation, that the voting process be fully transitioned into solely electronic system, eliminating other manual and semi-manual platform for a more effective and efficient voting process. In conclusion, the committee would like to thank the President and members of the Governing Council for the opportunity to serve. We also thank all members of the Institute who participated in the elections. We wish members a successful annual general meeting. Signed, Mr. Chike Nwanze, DFIOD past president, chairman of the committee. Other members are Alaji Tujani Borodo, FIOD, Alaji Sule Bichi, FIOD, Mr. Akin Iroko, FIOD, Mrs. Ebisan Onyema, MIOD, Mrs. Onene Obele Oshoko, MIOD, and Mrs. Kemi Adewale, MIOD. Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is the report of the scrutineers committee.
I understand that Chief Chike Nwanze, the chairman of the committee, is back online, and perhaps he would like to just make a comment. So yes, Chike Nwanze.
Not yet.
No time. He's talking.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very sorry. This is technology. My light went off in my house and my Wi-Fi went off. So I reconnected. Thank you very much. I just want to add and emphasize really that we really need to go on electronic voting next election. We are the only professional body that I know that is not doing that. I happened to chair this committee last year. I knew how long it took us, almost all day, to count the votes. This year, it was less. And what made it less? Because majority of the people voted electronically. So I think there should really not be any other alternative. We should completely go electronic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to thank my members, for coming in to cover up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief Chike Nwanze, for your diligent work. I can only tell you that the Governing Council of the Institute and I especially we're very, very grateful for the work done by yourself and your committee members. Well, next time we shall ensure that you're in a special environment where COVID-19 would not affect your generator. Thank you very much. Of course, I would also like to add my deep appreciation to other members of the committee. Alaji Tijani Borodo is our vice president. Of course, Alaji Sule Bichi, a fellow of the Institute, Kemi Adewale, member of the Institute, Mrs. Onene Obele Oshoko, member of the Institute, Ebisan Onyema, member of the Institute, and of course, indefatigable Mr. Aki Iroko, a fellow of the Institute, for the diligent work that they've done. Obviously, there's going to be a change of guard at the council, and I can only thank most profoundly all those members who had worked with the council in the last 2 years, who have now stepped down, and particularly those who have not been elected or elected to the council. We appreciate your contribution to the discourse of the council, and we look forward, obviously, to having you back to the council in the next perhaps in the next year, you never know. But let's please take it that your contributions are really deeply appreciated. And I refer to basically the two people who have to step down, the members who are members of the IOD, because you recall that we have since changed one of the criteria for the qualification for election to only fellows. So only fellows are now allowed to go to contest for elections. And of course, these as fellows, they must have contributed a lot to working in the committees. So I would like to encourage those who perhaps make the cutoff this time, that it means you really need to go back to the committees and work and get your popularity there and make your mark. And that's the situation. But those who actually left because they were, at the time they became the council, were merely Institute. Mr. Deninka Hazan and Dr. Lucy Newman. I'd like to thank you, for your contributions. I am, of course, aware that you have, you are now qualified to become fellows. Perhaps in the next few months you'll become fellows, and you can really come back and make a bid for back to the council. I would like to ask the following members who have just been elected to the council, please stand up wherever they may be. Please stand up wherever they may be. First is stand up for recognition. Wow. Second is because we're going to take the pledge. Sorry. Please just stand up and wave your hand, so at least we know you are there. Sorry. Okay, Irene. Congratulations once again, Mr. Oyetuji. Sorry, Mr. Tuji Oyebanji. Mr. Adetuji Oyebanji. Yeah. Prince Olashore, Bimbola Olashore, Mrs. Umando, Chukura Umando, FIOD, Umando, yeah. And of course, Alaji Lamish Diko. All right, congratulations, and we'll see you. Please do not go away, because we're going to be having the council meeting right after the AGM. Okay, thank you, and God bless you. No, he's at home. In the absence of any comment or observation, we'll bring the 36th AGM of the Institute of Directors Nigeria to a close at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your contributions in making this 36th annual general meeting a huge success. This meeting is formally brought to a close. Thank you. National anthem, please. Please. Idris, Shuaibu Idris. Will you can get the letter like Shuaibu Idris lead us in the national anthem? Rashid. There is a senior.
Am I to lead?
Oh, prayer first.
Is it prayer or national anthem?
National anthem, please. Go ahead.
Congratulations, Mr.
Well done.